The year is 1918. The world is at war, but a new enemy is emerging. This enemy is a virus, the influenza virus. It will sweep across the globe, leaving millions dead. This is the story of the 1918 influenza pandemic. The world had never seen anything like it. People went to bed healthy and woke up sick. Hospitals overflowed with the sick and dying. The virus did not discriminate. The world was ill-prepared for a pandemic. Medical science was still in its infancy. People turned to folk remedies. Fear and panic gripped nations. This is the story of how the world changed forever. The exact origins of the 1918 influenza pandemic remain a mystery. Scientists believe the virus likely originated in birds, eventually making the jump to humans. The first documented cases appeared in the spring of 1918 amidst the chaos of World War I. The war played a significant role in the rapid spread of the virus. Soldiers living in cramped and unsanitary conditions were particularly vulnerable. As troops moved across countries and continents, they carried the virus with them, unknowingly spreading it to civilian populations. The first wave of the pandemic in the spring of 1918 was relatively mild. Many people experienced flu-like symptoms, but the death rate was low. This lull, however, proved to be deceptive. The virus was mutating, becoming more contagious and deadly. By the fall of 1918, the virus had transformed into a far more lethal strain. The second wave of the pandemic hit with a vengeance, overwhelming hospitals and claiming millions of lives. This second wave would prove to be the deadliest, leaving a trail of grief and devastation in its wake. The 1918 flu pandemic spread with astonishing speed, reaching every corner of the globe in a matter of months. Travel, which had increased significantly in the early 20th century, played a key role in the virus's rapid dissemination. Ships carrying soldiers and supplies became floating incubators for the virus. Passengers and crew, confined to close quarters, spread the virus amongst themselves, unknowingly carrying it to new ports. From coastal cities, the virus quickly made its way inland, traveling along railroad lines and trade routes. No country was spared from the pandemic's reach. From the United States to Europe, Asia, Africa, and the remote islands of the Pacific, the virus left its mark. The pandemic's global reach highlighted the interconnectedness of the world and the shared vulnerability of humankind to infectious diseases. The 1918 flu pandemic served as a stark reminder that geographic boundaries offer little protection against the spread of infectious diseases. It underscored the need for global cooperation and preparedness in the face of public health threats. The 1918 flu, unlike seasonal influenza, often struck with terrifying speed and ferocity. Victims would experience a rapid onset of symptoms, including high fever, chills, headache, muscle aches, and fatigue. One of the most striking and unusual symptoms of the 1918 flu was cyanosis, a bluish discoloration of the skin caused by a lack of oxygen. This symptom, often a harbinger of severe illness, was a result of the virus attacking the lungs, leading to pneumonia and respiratory failure. In some cases, the 1918 flu caused a particularly aggressive and deadly form of pneumonia known as hemorrhagic pneumonia. This form of pneumonia caused the lungs to fill with fluid and blood, leading to rapid respiratory failure and death. The 1918 flu's ability to cause severe pneumonia, particularly in young, healthy adults, set it apart from typical seasonal influenza, making it one of the deadliest pandemics in human history. The 1918 flu pandemic had a profound impact on societies around the world, disrupting daily life and crippling economies. Schools, businesses and factories were forced to close as illness spread like wildfire. Mass gatherings, once a regular part of life, were banned in an effort to slow the spread of the virus. Funerals, weddings and sporting events were postponed or cancelled, leaving a void in the social fabric of communities. The healthcare system, overwhelmed by the sheer number of sick and dying, struggled to cope. Hospitals overflowed, forcing makeshift wards to be set up in schools, churches and private homes. Nurses and doctors, working tirelessly around the clock, faced a shortage of medical supplies and often succumbed to the illness themselves. The 1918 flu pandemic exposed the vulnerabilities of a world unprepared for a public health crisis of such magnitude. It underscored the importance of public health infrastructure, disease surveillance, and global cooperation in combating infectious diseases. Section 6. Stories etched in grief. The 1918 flu pandemic left an indelible mark on millions. Families were torn apart, communities devastated, and the world forever changed. Behind the statistics were countless stories of suffering and resilience. One such story is Anna, a young nurse working tirelessly in a city hospital. Surrounded by suffering, Anna comforted the sick and tended to the dying. Despite her efforts, the loss weighed heavily on her heart. She wrote letters to families, offering comfort and sharing final moments. In a rural town, young Thomas watched his world turn upside down. His father, a soldier, succumbed to the flu overseas. Then his mother fell ill while caring for neighbours. Orphaned, Thomas found solace in his community's kindness. Anna and Thomas's stories capture the essence of the 1918 pandemic. They remind us that behind the statistics were real people, each with their own story of loss and resilience. Section 7. The battle against an unseen foe. The 1918 flu pandemic occurred at a time when medical science was still in its infancy. Scientists had yet to identify influenza viruses, and antibiotics, which would later prove effective against bacterial pneumonia, were still decades away. Despite the limitations of their time, doctors and scientists around the world worked tirelessly to understand and combat the virus. They studied the virus's spread, documented its symptoms, and experimented with various treatments, desperately searching for a cure. While there was no cure for the 1918 flu, public health measures such as isolation, quarantine, good personal hygiene, and the use of masks proved somewhat effective in slowing the spread of the virus. These measures, combined with the eventual waning of the pandemic, helped to bring the outbreak under control. The 1918 flu pandemic highlighted the importance of scientific research, public health infrastructure, and global cooperation in combating infectious diseases. It laid the groundwork for future advancements in virology, epidemiology, and public health preparedness. Section 8 echoes in time. The legacy of 1918. The 1918 flu pandemic, though a century past, continues to cast a long shadow over the world. It serves as a stark reminder of the devastating power of infectious diseases and the importance of public health preparedness. The pandemic led to significant advances in virology and epidemiology. Scientists, driven by the desire to prevent future outbreaks, intensified their efforts to understand influenza viruses, leading to the development of vaccines and antiviral drugs. The 1918 flu pandemic also highlighted the importance of public health infrastructure and global cooperation in combating infectious diseases. Countries around the world learned the value of disease surveillance, early detection, and rapid response in containing outbreaks. The legacy of the 1918 flu pandemic lives on in the memories of those who lived through it and in the lessons learned by subsequent generations. It serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that the threat of infectious diseases is ever present, and that vigilance, preparedness, and global cooperation are essential in mitigating their impact. Section 9. Lessons learned, hope endured. The 1918 flu pandemic, despite its devastation, offers valuable lessons for the present and the future. It reminds us that infectious diseases respect no boundaries, affecting people of all ages, backgrounds, and walks of life. The pandemic underscored the importance of public health infrastructure, disease surveillance, and early intervention in containing outbreaks. It highlighted the need for clear communication, public trust, and global cooperation in responding to public health emergencies. The 1918 flu pandemic also showcased the resilience of the human spirit. Communities came together to support each other. Healthcare workers risked their lives to care for the sick, and scientists work tirelessly to understand and combat the virus. As we face new and emerging infectious diseases, the lessons learned from the 1918 flu pandemic serve as a guide. By investing in public health, fostering scientific research, and working together as a global community, we can honor the memory of those lost by building a healthier and more resilient future for all.